Head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Obviously, we don't have our future quarterback. What we need to do is really study the draft, find the guy that we think we can develop. In the meantime, we need to find a way to get either Joe Flacco back if he's willing to come back to our organization. If not him, then try to get Carson Wentz from the Chiefs and have him be your bridge quarterback. And that way we don't have to rush a rookie right into the mix. And then use all these draft picks to rebuild our secondary, which is horrible, and then also help the offensive line some because we do need some depth. I think Nick Chubb is going to be fine. Obviously, this was just 2 games into his comeback, and we can't expect him to be the same guy yet. So give him another 6 weeks, and then next year he'll be back better than ever.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Let's welcome in Dalton Wasserman, PFF data analyst. Dalton, Nick Chubb's a free agent at the end of the year. I think they need to worry about their offensive line. Quarterback, I don't know if either of those guys would be the bridge quarterback. You need somebody. I guess Flacco's been playing pretty well. Carson Wentz, I haven't seen that. But I get the idea of a bridge quarterback for a year and a developmental guy. You can't force a quarterback. Who are some? You do the college football show on PFF. Who are some of the college quarterbacks that you think maybe not? Assuming Ward and Sanders are off the board because they're not going to finish high enough. Who are some of the ones that you think might fit a developmental guy that could become a really good NFL quarterback?
Lately, one of the risers has been LSU's Garrett Nussmeier, who, he's the son of Doug Nussmeier, who's been a longtime coach. And I think that's really, he kind of fits a pro-style, pocket-oriented kind of quarterback, probably a guy who could run Kevin Stefanski's system pretty well. And then I think, and we've seen some shakiness out of him lately. You're still looking at Georgia's Carson Beck, too, in a similar vein, right? He's a pocket guy. He's used to playing under center at Georgia. He can get into a run game kind of oriented offense as long as he's protected. Carson Beck, he's a little bit supporting cast dependent, and the Browns would have to build that around him. But I think those are the next 2 guys on the list, past Shedeur and Ward, that I feel like, okay, they could come into the league. I think mentally they have a very high football IQ, both of them, and they just need to be surrounded with the right supporting cast. So I think those would be 2 guys, maybe even in the second round, they could be looking at.
Yeah, that was the next question. You think both those guys go in the second round, or are they a little bit further down even?
I think second round probably sounds about right. I think this quarterback class is definitely thinner than last year's. I think there's only 2 guys right now. You mentioned Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. Those are the only 2 guys right now I feel really good about going in the first round. You have some other guys they're different types of players. Nussmeier and Beck are pocket quarterbacks. Jalen Milroe, kind of the ultimate athlete in the Anthony Richardson vein. There's a handful of day 3 guys that could be intriguing. But I think right now, round 2, maybe very late round 1 if you trade back in, or round 2 seems right now like a reasonable spot for Nussmeier or Beck. But there's going to be opinions about this class flying all over the place because there's no shoe-in guy I think you're going to see different GMs have different preferences as to who they think is the best one.
Which always leads to, the evaluation. And we haven't got quarterback right in quite a while here. So that's a challenge. Do you think there's any chance that Quinn Ewers declares for the NFL draft, or do you think he's going back to Texas?
No, I could see him declaring. I think a lot of it depends on how the rest of Texas season goes. He's had some inconsistencies also this time, where he's looked great like he did against Michigan earlier in the year. Then he's had a couple of poor games, especially against Georgia. We saw in a big game that they lost. So I think there's more to be determined for Ewers, but I would bet right now on him going into the draft, especially with Arch Manning sitting there behind him and a lot of, everyone around the Longhorns and a lot of their fans, they want Manning to start, maybe some of them even now, but certainly next year. So I think Ewers is going to come out in this draft, and he's probably in that same range. I might put him a half step below Nussmeier and Beck. He's just been very inconsistent throughout his career.